Hi everyone, this is Malcolm with Marble Fox Studios, and I'd like to welcome you to our cheat sheet series. In these videos, we'll cover the fundamentals of spreadsheets, tips and tricks, detailed usage examples of functions, and even building power sheets. The objective of these videos is to provide you with the knowledge you need to save time. Let's get started. Today, we'll cover the basics, which include spreadsheets, sheets, ranges, and data. Let's talk about spreadsheets. What is a spreadsheet? A spreadsheet is a collection of two-dimensional data sets. What are spreadsheets used for? Spreadsheets are useful for collecting and transforming data. For example, you can use a spreadsheet to collect a list of the world's biggest cities to find correlations between population and area. You can then transform that data to quickly get a picture of what population density is. Let's move on to sheets. What is a sheet? A sheet is a two-dimensional data set. This is visualized using rows and columns. What are sheets used for? You can think of a sheet as a blank canvas where you can put data, images, and charts. Typically, a single sheet is used to store data points about many records of a type of thing. For example, if the type of thing is cities, you can store data about their countries, areas, and population for many cities. Now let's talk about ranges. What is a range? A range is any two-dimensional data set inside a sheet. That means that the range can consist of the entire sheet or just a portion of the sheet down to a single cell. Ranges are represented by a pair of letters followed by numbers, also called A1 notation. A good way to think about it is a pair of coordinates telling you where a selection is located. If you want to reference a range on another sheet, you can reference the sheet by typing its name, followed by an exclamation mark, followed by the A1 notation of the cell, as seen here. We have population density, an exclamation mark, and then C2 as the cell. If the sheet name has spaces or other non-alphanumeric symbols, you need to enclose the sheet name in single quotation marks, as seen here with population density. We have single quotation marks directly around the name of the sheet. If you want to reference a range on another spreadsheet entirely, you can use the import range function, and the functionality is here. So this URL is the URL of a completely different spreadsheet, which is this right here, and it's grabbing cities A2 through B, which is this, all of this right here. It's important to note that a range of data is not the same as the data itself. It just represents the location of the data. For example, if the building where you live is data, then the building address would be its range. So, what is data? Data is any information about anything, but all information can be categorized into a few different types, which are laid out here. For numbers, no explanations needed there. Numbers are numbers. We have strings, and strings are any text that isn't strictly numbers. So, hello, my name is Malcolm. Each of these is a string. You also have booleans. Now, booleans are just true or false, on or off. Technically, inside of a spreadsheet, they're true or false with all capital letters, but they can be formatted to be checkboxes here, and it's the same thing you can see here in the top, that when this is checked, it says true, and when we uncheck it, it says false there. And then we have void, which is the absence of data, like blank or null, or if you have errors with your formulas. What about dates and times? Computers convert dates and times to numbers in the background. Google Sheets specifically converts dates to the number of days since December 30th of 1899. It also converts the time of day to a number greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1. Combining the two can get you a specific time on a specific date. So we can see that here. So if we have today converted into a number in the background, this is actually the number 44,376. That represents the number of days since the end of the 1800s. And then for times, 12 a.m. is represented with a 0, 12 p.m. is represented with half of 1, 0.5, And then I have some 1 a.m. and a 1 p.m. to show you the irrational number between 0 and 1 that comes out to. Now, if we combine the date and a time into a timestamp, you'll see that these are the values on the right. So if you have December 30th of 1899 at 12 a.m. in the morning, that is flat 0. But if we go to today at 1 p.m., it will take the number of days since the epic date is what it's called, and then after the end, it adds the irrational 5416 on to infinity to represent 1 p.m. How do you store data? The most efficient way to store data is to use a two-dimensional system of adjacent data points and records because a single range can easily be assigned to it. Typically, you'll see data points as columns and records as rows. But depending on the ratio of data points to records, it's acceptable to flip that so you can see records as columns and data points as rows. So you can see here inside of this table, our data points are our column headers here, purchase date, item, quantity, cost, total, and then our records is each row here. And here, this is transposed so that each data point is now a row, and each column is a record. How do you transform data? Data is transformed using formulas. A formula is a custom-defined operation that uses functions to transform data. All formulas start with an equal symbol, as shown here. What's a function? In Google Sheets, a function is a built-in operation that has the following structure. The function name, always in capital letters, an opening parenthesis, required inputs, in other words parameters, optional parameters, and a closing parenthesis. Note that all parameters need to be separated by commas, as can be seen here. Parameters can be static data or dynamic data, represented by ranges. Parameters can also be nested formulas or functions. If they are, Google Sheets will solve the innermost formulas and functions first and work outwards from there. These are called nested functions. When you reference other cells in a formula, those cells will be highlighted in contrasting colors to help you more easily build a formula, as can be seen here. When you click on a cell that contains a completed formula, you'll also see those cells highlighted. There are some functions that aren't supported by Google Sheets. Details can be found in their documentation, which is linked right here on this spreadsheet. That's all you need to know to get started with spreadsheets. If you liked the video, please be sure to give it one and subscribe if you want to see more. Next time, we'll cover spreadsheet tips and tricks to help you build faster. See you then, and thanks for watching.